Hi everybody, my name's Andrew and today I'm driving a Tesla Model Y, specifically a dual motor long range variant. It's kind of interesting how I ended up with this car actually, because as you may have seen, I reviewed the Mustang Mach-E about 2 months ago now. And so naturally I was going to review a Model Y at some point anyway, but my S4 got rear-ended last week and I needed a rental car to go somewhere this weekend, so here we are. So today I'm going to give you guys a walk around of it, take you on a little test drive, and talk about some things that I've noticed living with this car for the weekend. This particular Model Y is finished in midnight silver, also known as gray, with the optional 20-inch black wheels. And you can tell it's a rental car because this wheel right here is absolutely destroyed. Obviously, the Model Y shares many styling cues and in fact some parts with the Model 3 on which it's based. But the outside for the most part is unique when it comes to body panels and components. One thing I particularly like is the taillights, which feature amber indicators, which the Model 3 does not. Although, having said that, I have now seen in the last month or two a few Model 3s rolling around with these taillights, so maybe they switched them for the 23s, I don't know. Either way, the main difference really is that the Model Y is slightly bigger and slightly taller. Exactly how much bigger though? Well, it's about 2 inches longer, it's about 3 inches wider, and it's about 7 inches taller. But you only get about an inch more ground clearance over the Model 3, which honestly is not a lot. At the moment, the Model Y is not available with Tesla's air suspension, although I'm told that the platform was designed for that, so maybe that will be available in the future to give it a little bit of extra height. Where you'll notice the difference though is in terms of rear legroom and cargo space, because at 41.6 inches in the back, this is obviously bigger than the Model 3, but also than the Mach-E and ID.4. And if you fold the rear seats down, you get a total of 76.2 inches of cargo space, or about 30 inches with the seats up, which is still a pretty good amount of space. Since this is a dedicated electric car platform and not a conversion like some other cars, you do also have a front trunk, which gives you an extra 4 cubic feet of cargo space, which would be useful for your charging cable and other accessories, although since the only way to pop it is from the screen on the inside of the car, it's not super convenient for constant usage. Hopping inside the Model Y, this is the key card that it comes with. Simply tap this on the pillar there to lock and unlock. And once you climb inside, put your foot on the brake and tap the key card in the center console there to turn it on. If you actually buy one of these, however, Tesla recommends that you use your phone as a key, and the vehicle will automatically lock and unlock when you approach it, as well as when you hit the brake pedal, automatically start. However, you can also purchase a key fob from Tesla, and honestly that's the way I would go because I just like having that, and from what I've heard, phone as a key is not always incredibly reliable either. Once you're inside the Model Y though, it's actually not that bad. Now, I know I've shit on the interior quality of Teslas previously, comparing it to hospital waiting rooms and things of that nature, but honestly, it's not that bad in here. It doesn't feel overly cheap. I'm actually impressed that this one doesn't have any terrible squeaks or rattles yet, given that it's got 15,000 miles on it, and you know there's 15,000 hard miles, but it's really just nothing special. I mean, the Mach-E and the Ioniq 5, on the higher trim levels at least, do have way nicer interiors than this car. My favorite part about this interior has to be the seats. Now, they are missing some features like ventilation or cooling, and there's no extendable thigh cushion either, but they are super comfortable. I will say they are a little bit small. They may be a little bit tighter for bigger individuals, but for me, they're perfectly fine. And for some reason, the overall driving position of the Model Y just works better than the Model 3. It's the exact same seat, steering wheel, everything, just slightly higher up, and for some reason I prefer that. Obviously, the biggest thing that people criticize about this interior is the lack of a screen right in front of you. Now, I think it's okay because this screen in the center is really good. The interface is well laid out. There's a lot going on, just like there is in the Mach-E, but it's easy to understand and it's really not bad. And yes, your speed and driving information being somewhere other than directly in front of you is a little bit odd, and I would like a heads-up display. But I mean, when you think about it, the original Prius and some older Hondas were doing that 20 years ago, so it's really not anything that revolutionary. The driving experience of the Model Y, much like the interior, is kind of unremarkable, to be honest, but that's okay. It's no secret that Tesla is the Apple of the car world, and the Model Y is the iPhone or the MacBook of electric SUVs. I mean, it does everything really well, but there's nothing stand out about it. It's a good car, but it's just not that interesting. And it's telling me that it's departing my lane, even though there's no line on that side, so that's good. No, I mean, think about it. The panoramic glass roof in this car is great. It looks great, and it's tinted pretty well, so it's not crazy hot, but some people may not like it, and there's no sunshade included from the factory. You have to buy that either aftermarket or from Tesla as an accessory. Same thing with a charging cable now, actually. That's another thing that Tesla makes you buy separately. And, I mean, this is just the default choice for so many people, and there's really nothing wrong with that. I mean, like I said, it does everything well. It's comfortable, it's quiet, it handles okay because of the low center of gravity, but obviously it's not a sports car in any way. It's decently quick, 0 to 60 in the mid 4-second range for a non-performance model, and it's got good space in the back, it's got decent range, the charging experience is great. Well, I'm assuming it's great. We're gonna find out, and I'll talk about that shortly. And now that this qualifies for the tax credit again, this is really just the easiest choice for an electric SUV. And finally, let's talk about charging, because I complained about that quite a bit with the Mach-E. Luckily, the Tesla charging experience is almost perfect, to be honest. The supercharger network, for one thing, is bigger than both Electrify America and EVgo combined, and you literally just pull up and plug in. That's it. There's no app. Well, there is a Tesla app, but you don't have to use it to charge. You don't have to use it to activate anything or put your credit card in every single time. It just bills your account automatically, or in this case, it'll bill Hertz and then they'll bill me after the fact, but either way, that's not a big deal. Broken superchargers are far less common than Electrify America stations, and overall, it's just a nicer experience. And if you're gonna road trip an EV, Tesla is the way to go. So to wrap up my time with the Model Y, a few other things that I've noticed. Firstly, autopilot is still maybe not necessarily the best, but it is one of the best driver assistance systems. I'm not going to call it a self-driving system because it's not. Even Tesla's full self-driving is really not full self-driving yet. Yes, there's a beta program out there, but it's not worth $12,000 or whatever they're charging for it now. On the other hand, enhanced autopilot, which gets you traffic light recognition, automatic lane changes, and summon, that I think is worth the extra money, because that's really my biggest gripe with autopilot, is that you have to disengage it every time you change lanes and then re-engage it, hit the stalk one more time. But overall, autopilot is still one of the best driver assistance systems. Something kind of nitpicky that I noticed with the interior of this car after living with it is the sun visors. They've used these magnetic hooks to hold them up, and I've noticed that if you press on them slightly too hard, well, I say slightly too hard for it, not too hard for any other car, they come off the magnet when you're trying to put them up and down, and so they don't always go where you think they're going to go. And that's, again, really a minor thing, but it kind of annoyed me. The center console is actually my second favorite thing about this interior now. For those that remember when the Model 3 and Y first came out, they had this god-awful piano black center console design. Tesla's now gotten rid of that. They've changed the storage compartment and they've added a better wireless charger to it. And getting rid of the piano black is probably the best thing they've done with this car so far. And lastly, I mentioned before that the Model Y once again qualifies for a tax credit because Tesla just recently dropped prices on every single car they make, meaning that the Model Y now starts under 55 grand again and is built in the US, of course, so it qualifies for $7,500 in tax credit now. Because with the new programs that went into effect at the beginning of this year, Tesla overall qualified for it again, but the Model Y did not, and now it does. So that's a pretty big thing to consider for a lot of people. It's not obviously a discount on the car, but it is still $7,500 deduction from your taxable income for that year, which could make a difference. So with all that said, if you enjoyed this video or found it informative, give it a thumbs up or consider subscribing for plenty more content to come.